Hey folks, how's it going? Sam Luce here at NA Studios. Thanks for checking the video out. I want to take a little look at these little puppies, the Slate VSX, because I was deliberating over these for quite some time. Should I get them? Should I not get them? And there was nothing that really was stopping me from getting them other than the fact that I didn't know. And I wasn't sure if they would actually improve anything, because none of us are mixing in ideal environments, and that's kind of where they come in, isn't it? We can listen to different environments, more perfect environments that will help our mixes translate better. But I wasn't sure if I believed it. I wasn't sure if it was actually like the right call to make. So I want to kind of just show you 5 reasons why in the end I did take the plunge. And these may apply to you, these may not apply to you, but hopefully if at least one of them is something that you've been thinking about, maybe it'll answer a question for whether that factor is kind of the right reason to go for it. But really, here's 5 reasons why in the end I did go for them. The first is about translation and how a mix sounds in the room and how it kind of sounds further down the line. I want to play you a mix that I did a little while ago, and I've just spent 5 minutes on it with VSX, just hating myself and realizing why it sounded so garbage before. And it's one of those things when I made the changes and I was listening to it and I was like, surely it can't be that extreme. And then I went away for a few minutes and came back and listened to it. And even in this like pretty naff sounding room, it sounded loads better, and that was really annoying. But just take a listen to the AB and you'll hear the differences. So we'll start off with the before, and yeah, it just sounds garbage.
She came to me on the dance floor singing wow, wow. She came to me on the dance floor singing wow, wow. She came to me on the dance floor singing wow, wow. She came to me on the dance floor singing wow, wow.
Now, I'm aware that's not a great mix. I'm aware that it's not really even a good mix, but it's about the fact that it took me 5 minutes to get from the really garbage sounding mix to the less garbage sounding mix. To me, it was about the mid-range. I quickly realized as soon as I put the VSX on that the mid-range was a nightmare. And they all say the magic is in the mid-range, and this is like the whole mix, you know. And for me, it was worryingly revealing how bad my mid-range was. I realized that the snare was terrible, and that it actually needed a completely different sound, completely different sample. The vocal reverb was completely wrong. The vocal tone was completely wrong. The guitars were completely wrong. The overheads were completely wrong. The whole thing was just like, it was just as if a blanket had been lifted. And I know that's like a horrible kind of audio term, like these speakers made it sound like a blanket was lifted over me. It's horrible, isn't it? It's cliche. But it was just really revealing to me. Whether you want to use these as like your main reference point or not is kind of relevant, because to me, I'm not a headphone mixer. Not one of those guys. Don't do it. I've never really seen why people would want to do it. I just hate wearing them. But these, I don't know, have these changed my mind? They've not made me stop hating wearing headphones. They've stopped me hating the sound of headphones, because they don't sound like headphones. They just sound like a room that's, the sound kind of goes from there and it goes to there. And I realized sort of the futility of trying to review a pair of headphones on YouTube, because you just can't do that. The best way that I can really do it is discuss the benefits and show you a mix before and after. But to me, they just stopped feeling like headphones and started feeling like a really good point of reference. So make of that what you will. The second point is something that I always had to wear headphones for. Now, I travel a lot and I work from home, but quite often I'll say to my wife, you know, it's 9 o'clock at night, but I've just got to go out and make these edits or make these changes or whatever it is. And it's frustrating. The studio is attached to the house, but it's still kind of frustrating. So just being able to pop the VSX on and have what I would call like a room in your headphones is really useful for me. And just being able to keep that kind of work-life balance a little bit more stable. There's nobody that really relishes having to go and do work late at night. It's just one of those necessary evils. Even though we enjoy what we do as audio engineers, you know, your home life is your home life and your work life is your work life. And to me, it just enabled me to come out of that idea of going to the studio in the evening and actually just sitting at the kitchen table just for 5 minutes, popping some headphones on, making these changes and send it off. So a half-hour excursion to the studio turned into 5 minutes, which to me, I'm not really time rich. I'm not really money rich either, to be honest, but I'm not time rich. I don't have a lot of it. And just being able to take out that 25 minutes of the whole, turn everything on in the studio, turn the speakers on, get everything loaded up, to me, that makes a real difference. So on the subject of kind of referencing stuff, with these being like a reference tool, you'll see people buying a second set of monitors and a third set of monitors and having numerous monitors in your room that all sound different and reveal different things. I'm going to say an unpopular opinion here. I've never done that. Or no, actually I did do that once and then I sold them because it was just pointless. I don't really think that having two sets of monitors that are both like decent, that are both good, is really useful. They just sound different. One doesn't sound better than the other. What is kind of useful is having like your main set of monitors and then a really rubbish sounding speaker, because you can kind of see how it's going to sound on something that sounds rubbish. You know, not everyone listens on decent speakers, or very few people do these days. So the fact that VSX has got like a mono speaker in it, it's got a phone speaker and all that kind of stuff. Actually, phone speaker, I'm going to come on to that in a moment. Is quite useful. And it means you don't actually have to buy all these extra sets of speakers and then stands, and then your audio interface might not be able to do all these sets of speakers, and then you have to bring a switcher into it, and it just gets into a bit of a nightmare really, where you would probably be better just having like a set of headphones to do it in the first place. So it's confusing. To me, that was always confusing, like having loads of sets of speakers. It never really served a purpose. Maybe it's just the rooms that I'm working in. But on the subject of like phones, mobile phones, cell phones, you might call them, there was never really a good way for me to get a mix onto a phone, other than like exporting it and putting on the phone, listening to it. There was one that was like mixed to mobile, which I think I might have done a video on, quite possibly. I'll link it if I have. If I haven't, that's going to be quite embarrassing. But there was never a way of like knowing how it's going to sound on phone speakers, and headphones with a phone speaker emulation are a pretty good representation of that. And the fact that you can actually listen to that and listen to how it's going to sound just with the click of a button is really useful, because when you EQ your speakers and try and take all the bottom end out and all that kind of stuff, it never really works. So getting it so that it was like a nice reference that didn't mean I had to buy a load of speakers, that didn't mean I had to transport audio files onto my phone, that just took out all that stuff and just meant I could pop on like a mobile phone emulation. That's number 3. That is really handy for me. Fourthly, weird one, because mixed on headphones, as I said, don't like it. It's not for me. It's this ongoing thing, isn't it, that we mix on thousands of pounds worth of gear on massive speakers that cost 10 grand, some people on like ATCs or whatever, $1 million rooms in these massive studios that then people listen to on rubbish little headphones. So why should we bother listening in massive studios or emulations of massive studios? Well, it's not about that, is it? It's not about the fact that we're trying to make music sound as good as possible. It's about the fact that we want to know everything in there that sounds bad. So hi-fi users, hi-fi lovers want their speakers to sound great. Audio engineers, we want our speakers to sound exactly what is coming out of the door. We want it to sound so revealing that there's nothing in there that we can miss. No, we can't miss anything in there. So when it goes to its next destination, whether that's streaming or CD or whatever, there's no set of speakers that someone's going to listen to it on that is going to sound objectively bad on. Unless the speakers sound bad, in which case they're probably used to it. But the whole point about having reference, the whole point about having different sets of speakers to actually listen to your stuff on, is because you want to be able to know exactly where those pitfalls are. And I've not added up how many sets of speakers there are on VSX, numerous, should we say. But if your mix sounds bad on one of them, then you need to address that. And it may not be revealing on all the other ones, but for the people who are listening to it on a set of speakers that are similar to those, it's going to be a problem. And you don't want your mix to sound good on 99% of speakers. You want it to sound good on 100% of speakers. So even if that's rubbishy little earpods or mobile phone speakers or whatever, it's worth having that as a reference. And the fact that we listen on revealing speakers means that we can know absolutely everything about the mix. And To me, having these is just about having multiple stages of reveal, about having multiple places that can show me where the problems are in a mix. I'm not listening to these headphones and going, wow, those speakers sound great, or those far fields sound fantastic. I'm not really analysing them. Often I'm just like flicking between them and just saying, okay, this is what it sounds like on these speakers. Don't tell me what they are. Don't tell me what they look like. Just stick them on a preset and then that's what it sounds like, because it's just another set of speakers. So to me, it's about being revealing. It's about having something that doesn't let anything in the mix hide, and having numerous sets of speakers, as there are on VSX, is really the most revealing way I can possibly think of listening to my mix. Lastly, I didn't know if this was the right choice. I didn't know if I was going to hate them. I didn't know if I was going to absolutely love them. But there was a little caveat there that there was like the money back guarantee, 30 days, and if you don't like them, just send them back, no questions asked. That gave me a little bit of confidence. And the rent to own as well is something that I don't feel like enough companies really utilize, because it makes sense really. Like in the days of subscription plans as we've got now, think of that what you will, subscription plans, but rent to own makes a lot of sense, especially with like a hardware product. And the fact that you can do that and you can do a money back guarantee tells me two things really. It's not an advert for Slate Audio as a company. I'm just kind of saying that it shows that they believe in their product, that they'll give you their money back if you don't like them. But it also means that they kind of value their customers as well, because they're not just trying to do a money grab. They're not just trying to get like 500 quid from every customer and then see you later until we release something else. They're actually saying, well, we want everyone to have these and we want it to be affordable, so let's make it affordable. Let's make it like a monthly payment so that people can own it at the end, like a car rental or something like that. Which to me says a lot about the way people are working. And these days you've got a lot of things on a subscription plan, so it's nice that that ends at some point. It's nice that you haven't just got to indefinitely subscribe to something or you lose it all. Think of this rent to own as a subscription plan where you get like a big reward at the end, and at the end you just get to keep them and get those few extra quid back every month. And that's quite nice. So are they right for you? I don't know. Let me know. I think they're right for me. I think they're not my only set of monitors. They're not the thing that I'm going to mix absolutely everything on. I'm still going to mix in my room, because although the room isn't perfect, I'm making it better as we go along, and I kind of know it. I know what sounds good in the room and I know what doesn't sound good in the room, and it's good to have that kind of reveal. I will say that mix I played at the beginning, I mixed in a completely different room, and even just bringing it into this room, it sounded completely different. But having just spent 5 minutes altering a mix, that was a big reveal to me. That was a big, like, aha kind of moment. And the fact that I could make that much change in just 5 minutes gave me a bit of confidence about these. And I'm going to carry on with these, keep plodding along, do some mixes on them, and maybe I'll do a bit of an extra review when I've had them for a few months and see how my mixes have really come along from having this as a bit of a point of reference. So have you got VSX? Are you thinking about getting it? Let me know. To me, it works as a point of reference. I think it's useful. Whether it's going to be the be all and end all for me, I'm not entirely sure, but when I'm traveling and keeping that work-life balance, it's certainly useful for that. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Take care.